Welcome to the Wandering Inn, where we produce tabletop role-playing and actual play shows for your entertainment. If you find yourself enjoying the show, please take a moment to consider supporting the channel via the Patreon. With that support, we pay the cast, pay for the art and production for our shows, and are hoping to expand the number of shows we bring to you. All of your support is appreciated, and always remember to check the description for links related to the channel and the cast. Welcome, pull up a pew and get comfy, the show's about to start. But before it does, Manor Most Foul is set in MÖRK BORG, and our storyteller for this is Sebastian Illustration, also known as Under the Sea. Alongside this, he is also responsible for the art you'll be seeing during the show. Our cast consists of Valen Vane, Pony Punch, Syrinx, and Sheepdog. I encourage you to investigate the description to find links to their individual channels and content, except for Sheepdog, who is the owner of this channel and currently reading out the intro to you. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy Manor Most Foul.
So where last we left off, you had discovered the parlor, as it were. Dark, ominously clean, almost suspiciously devoid of dirt, detritus, filth of any kind. Possibly the cleanest room you'd ever been in. Aside from, of course, the curio cabinets filled to the brim with wriggling maggots. When Sponge attempted to feed one of them a morsel of lard from Sponge's pack, the rest of the party pointed out at the skeleton's behest, pointing above Sponge, to the wall, to the dark, shadowy corners of the ceiling where scuttling around was Seamus the butler, a half-man, half-fly monstrosity, buzzing and flitting about. The creature was called out. Sponge, without a moment's hesitation, flailed in the direction, swinging and hitting massively, sending strange, buggy chitin and appendage goop all over the wall. And it is here that we resume. Having just landed your blow, Sponge, to whom would you like to move the initiative to?
I'll move the initiative to Seamus the butler.
Seamus scuttles around now before you on the carpeted floor, looking around at the bits of its own guts and intestines spilling out everywhere. It's sort of its eye like a gigantic fly eyeballs sort of darting back and forth at the mess. Its large proboscis sucking in and out, small teeth sort of chittering inside. And the butler goes, "Mustn't make a mess, mustn't tell, mustn't say, mustn't be making a mess of things." And it sort of slurps up some of its own chitinous goop and begins to then fire it like a projectile as shards of like sharp material at Sponge. Please, if you would, roll to defend thyself.
Okay, raise my shield. Does it do it automatically?
Shields do have a special. Shields. You can choose to ignore all damage from one attack, but the shield breaks.
Oh no, I'll take the damage. That's fine.
All right. So go ahead and roll an agility to defend yourself.
Is this the first time someone other than Bug'em Toe takes damage?
Wait, so you're telling me you're carrying the giant ass like throne of the prince and you're carrying like a shield as well?
Hell yeah.
He's just a tank. It's a D20. Do I add my armor to it, or do I negate the damage, the armor from the damage?
So first we have to determine if you are hit by the oncoming projectile.
Yes.
So we'll need that D20 agility test.
Okay, which is just a D20, so.
Mhm.
19.
Ooh, not a problem. Reflexively, everything sort of glances off you. Perhaps even given like Sponge's nature, I think maybe you just know that the shards are no match for you, and just sort of stand there, watch as they sort of ping off onto the floor. And at this point, Shame is seeing even more mess. Sort of mustn't make mess. Must keep things tidy. Mustn't say. And he'll sort of get very close to Sponge, and with strange little bug-like appendages sort of emanating from their neck, torso, limbs, where arms are meant to be, the butler will very closely in Sponge's ear. We mustn't make a mess, now can we? Must keep things tidy. Must keep them quiet. And he'll sort of back up a bit and pass the initiative over to Groten.
Okay. So is he... I'm trying to think. Is he flying in the air? I'm just trying to visualize here.
At the moment, he's sort of very quickly, in the manner that flies tend to move, sort of buzzing snappily in front of Sponge on the carpeted floor.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Did he suck up all the dirt or the mess on the floor?
Quite a bit of it, yeah. Just sort of hoovered it up with his fly-like protrusion.
Okay. I have a thought that maybe Groten might have something that if he made a mess with, it might suck it up and be a problem for him.
Well, I have... If the things go to shit, perhaps, but I have one thing I want to do first.
Of course.
So you said there were 2 cabinets, right, with maggots? There wasn't just the one that he opened, yeah. And after he backs away, I would like to take my... I'm gonna take my staff, and I'm gonna try to throw it towards one of the other, and see if I can break it.
Incredible. Yeah, go ahead and make a ranged attack using your presence.
Presence? Okay.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. 15.
Incredible. Yeah, so you sort of like hoist your staff like a javelin and hurl it into the room past Sponge and between these 2 fighting figures into the other glass cabinet. And glass shatters everywhere. Maggots, still wriggling in the air, spill out and splatter on the floor and the sofa and all across the room. Bits of glass, wood, of course, the staff goes clattering against the far side of the parlor.
Would have been cool if I could get it back somehow. That'd be sick.
At that, you do see the eyes, the gigantic sequestered eyes of the butler sort of dart in that direction. No, we mustn't make a mess. Must keep things tidy.
I'm gonna turn to Groten and be like, you missed.
I did not. I hit precisely what I intended. Yeah, well, I did. Amazing. I'm gonna send it over to Bug'em.
So the one of the cabinets was smashed, was it? That had like the weird grub things in it?
Yes, the cabinet on the far side or eastern side of the park.
Could I run over to it and just with my one good is questionable. Can I just kind of like sweep everything in it out onto the floor, just in kind of like a essentially I am looking to make mess.
Marvelous. Yeah, certainly. You can sort of run over there and somehow, despite the floor now being covered in small wriggling insect larvae, you managed to deftly avoid their squishing, wriggling little bodies with your tender, pristine feet. And you grab the display cabinet and lift it up and begin shaking it and writhing it around, just sort of thrashing, sending what remains of the grubs and glass shards flailing through the room. Seamus at this point sort of like lets out a high-pitched hissing screech.
Keep making a mess, and then Sponge, you can kill him while he's distracted and tidying up. And I will pass it over to Swind, because I don't have any ability to really fight.
Just to know, is there anything? It's very dark in here, right? So we can't really
Extremely.
see. Yeah, okay. All right, then I will also wait to see if there's anything else in the room, because I'm not the one with the torch. Sponges. It would be very funny though if I would just take the torch and just light it and just start walking around the room. But I won't. Instead, I will take one of my rats in my hand, get it very close to me, whisper something to it, and then throw it at the butler. Specifically on, it has like 2 big eyes. Specifically onto like one of the eyes, for it to
Marvelous.
just start clawing there.
Okay, yeah, makeshift rat ranged attack. Go ahead and roll presence for me.
That's an 18.
What are these rolls?
Ooh, today's the day.
Incredible. You whisper tender instructions carefully into the ear of the rat, and it sort of gives you a somber nod, and like bares its teeth in anticipation. It sort of curdles up in your hand as you lob it expertly in the direction of Seamus's face, and it sort of like mid-air spreads out attack mode and latches onto the great segmented eyeball of the butler. Go ahead and roll a d4 for that rat.
Okay. Wait, does this work? No. How do I?
/roll d4. There you go.
No.
Or /roll space d4.
Oh.
You can take out the period in that, and I'll do it for you.
Okay. That's
There
true.
you
I
How
rolled
much?
a 2.
A 2. The rats begin to sort of like scratch and claw, but even the eye, this like strange, large, bulbous, segmented eye, seems to have some sort of like chitinous, insect, exoskeletal protection to it. But the rat is gnawing furiously, trying to find purchase.
And as I throw one of my rats, I'm satisfied just standing a bit way back from the fight and from Sponge. And as the bugs are crawling over the floor, maybe getting closer, I just like lift one foot and slowly put it on like some of the bugs to squish them as they get closer.
Makes a very distinct squelching,
Yeah.
sort of a splooch under your feet.
And with my hands clasped, waiting for Sponge to deal with this problem, I'll hand it over to Sponge.
Well, there is still the prince.
Oh, all right. Sorry. I'll hand it over to the prince.
Prince says, Sponge, do hurry and kill this thing. It's rather upsetting.
Yes, my lord.
His role is to give orders, after all.
Yes.
It is. And I'm assuming he's handing it over to me then,
He is indeed.
in which case I will do exactly the same again. Violence, absolute violence upon this thing, in the messiest way I possibly can.
There's no other way when you're wielding a flail.
That is true. 19.
go ahead and just roll damage. In fact, given Sponge's like great magnitude, why don't you just tell me what is the messiest way you kill this butler?
I feel like just because of how efficient he is at so many things, he like wields the flail and it wedges directly into the fly's head, into the Seamus's head, between the eyes, and it mulches round it. And as he's like pulling at it, he doesn't quite pull at it so much as jump onto Seamus and jump up and down and start stamping and just like make it as much mess as possible, flinging guts around the place, rolling around a little bit just to make a little bit more mess, just because Buggum said we need to make mess. And the prince said he needs to kill him. So he's just going all like a child in a mud pit, just, all right, make a mess. Is this enough?
Amazing. All right, in a flurry of primal flailing and sort of Kong-like rampage, Sponge, rampage minus the rage. Sponge dutifully, absolutely demolishes what's left of Seamus the Butler until there is just sort of like the remnants of a tuxedo and a black smeary mess of vitriol and bile and just smudge.
Amazing. Yeah, I think at this point I'm just gonna keep jumping up and down and until someone tells me to stop. Effectively.
I will say, when you're jumping up and down, there's like the squelching of bugs being crushed as Sven gets closer, and she just says like, "Stop for a moment." She reaches out, takes the torch from him, lights it, and then says, "You can continue."
Sponge, stop. Sponge, is his skull still intact?
You tell me. Is his skull still intact? Probably.
Not in the
Sponge
slightest.
asking,
No.
"What's his skull?"
The skull, the rat, it's just sort of a mess of various like.
Oh no, my rat!
The rat is so gone.
It's laying there on the ground, like arms outstretched, like in the last moments it welcomed death.
I feel like just the hilariousness of it, where like Sponge wields a flail, the flail sticks directly into it in front of the rat's face. The rat's like, bloody hell, that was close, and then Sponge just jumps on it.
All right. The rat knew the details. It knew that survival was slim, so long as the mission was carried out. And it thoroughly has been. What remains of the butler is no longer even remotely person-shaped. It is just a mess.
Which is exactly the intention, and then Sponge will pick up some entrails and throw them at Buggum because he's too clean.
Can I dodge?
You may, actually.
Yes.
I suppose this would be our first opposed test. I'll need a presence test from Sponge and an agility test from Buggum.
He literally looks up, just goes, "Oh, he's too clean. He said a mess." Like completely innocently, just scoops up some entrails and just lobs them.
Food fight.
4-4.
4-4.
Yeah, we both rolled 4s.
4 and 4. My
And now it's a
goodness.
democracy, so we all get to vote who wins.
Could I suggest that Sponge, like barely looking, just kind of throws it vaguely at Buggum. Buggum like steps away from where he was directly into the path of the like viscera, and it just kind of like splats like a little bit, just kind of like splats pathetically on his chest and like just.
Yeah, I think the entrails sort of hurl through the air and make sort of a rubbery splat, but leave no discernible mark. You remain still unbesmirched for the most part.
Sponge, the reason why Groton and myself were making a mess was to distract that thing.
What?
We were trying to distract it with a mess so you could kill it. Once it's dead, there's little reason to make a mess anymore.
By this point, I feel like Sponge just sat down and is just rubbing himself in it.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. So do I not have to just? Oh,
Scoot over, will you?
oh yeah, sure.
It's over a little bit.
With the torch, like lowering to look at the remains, Sven kind of looks and says, "There's a small part of the skull still there."
Let me see. I want to look for teeth on the floor. I have to roll for that.
Ooh, marvelous. Go ahead and you know what? I'm not actually sure if Roll20 will facilitate this. So here, allow me a moment. Rummaging through the remains, you don't find any teeth per se. At least anything that you find, like there's some shards of chitin that are maybe teeth adjacent shaped, but it's very difficult. I mean, if you were feeling in a discerning mood, you're not confident that like you could pick out which bits are proper teeth and which are just weird bug bits. But you do come across a blood-stained knuckle duster in one of the butler's pockets.
Oh well, would you look at that? I'll keep that for later if no one minds. No.
No, you go. What were you looking for?
Teeth.
Oh, did you
For
find
mine.
any?
Huh?
Did you find any?
No. There's everything but.
Do you want one of my spare ones?
He roots around into his little bag of wizard's teeth and just pulls one out and goes, "There you go."
Oh, thank you. Oh. I'll put it in my pocket and string it on my necklace later.
Isn't that a giant fly monster bug thing? I don't think.
Oh, you said his name was a butler.
Right, name, but not species. It appears to be a giant fly type thing. Yes.
No,
The glimpses that you caught of it before it was smashed into
smoked.
a heap it did largely resemble a very well-kempt sort of like tuxedoed long coat-tailed butler.
Okay.
But the upper half of the torso was sort of an insectoid abomination.
Yeah, some type of insecty thing. I don't think they have teeth. And Bugum looks at Groton and says, "Aren't you a doctor? Shouldn't you know that?"
I'll slowly reach for my staff, and I'll smack him in the face. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to say, he might have had teeth on him, Bugum.
I'm very happy to have that just I don't really need a roll for that one. Yeah.
You know, Bugum, you're right. It doesn't have teeth, but you do.
Yes, I do.
Don't you think it's sad that Britain didn't find any teeth on the body?
I wasn't really aware we were looking for teeth.
You think this makes itself?
Groton proudly displaying a large sort of bandolier necklace of just various teeth, clearly from like many disparate mouths.
At a very good point. No, of course it doesn't make itself. Maybe before we head to the party, we can go and get donations from that gentleman without hands now in the wheel room.
No, Bugum, let's not waste any time.
Oh, of course,
All
yes.
right, dear.
Silly idea, really.
Stind was ready to pull out Bugham's teeth.
Oh
but,
yeah, 100%. That's why the subject
since-
was switched.
Since Gruten doesn't seem inclined to, she'll leave them at their thing and holding the torch will start going around the room, I guess, seeing if there's anything of interest.
Sure. Go ahead and make a presence test, please.
I will. A 14.
Going around the room, you don't spy anything that might jump out as treasure per se. The room itself is very fine, and minus the parts that have now been very horrifically soiled. It is a very luxurious room. There are sort of the two large lounging sofas on either side of this very glamorous bay window. There is a small lamp in the center of the room. And of course, the very fine display cases, one of which has been shattered and scattered. But aside from that, there's very little adornment in the room itself.
All right. Having done a little lap around the room, I'll come back to the rest. There doesn't seem to be anything of interest for us.
Oh, right, okay. Have we checked under the bed?
No, Sponge, you can check under the bed.
Sounds good.
And it's Sponge, so he's probably going to get on, instead of like picking up the bed, he's going to get down on all fours and like try and get under the bed, realize he's too big because he's still got the chair on his back.
Yeah.
And then stand up and just try and flip the mattress and or bed. Just, oh God, it's getting in the way.
I should clarify, there are two sort of like lounge sofas, not beds.
Oh, okay.
All right, okay. In which case, I'll do that with the bed, with the lounge sofa.
Fair enough.
Sometimes you find stuff down the back of the sofa.
Sometimes you do find stuff down the back of the sofa. This is very true. Flailing the sofa around, something does clatter to the floor. And upon inspection, you hear this sort of like metallic twang against the carpet. And looking, you see sort of a black, sparkling dagger.
Oh, it's not treasure.
It almost resembles, it's sort of like a very jagged, very rough-hewn shape, similar in nature to, it gives you the impression of like a perilous icicle. Have you ever sort of looked up at an icicle and thought, that could take my eye out? That's a similar sort of feeling that this gives you just looking at it, sort of like black, sparkly shimmer of it.
Do you want it, Svind? It's void-shaped.
No, you can give it as treasure to the prince.
Oh, it's a great idea. Thank you.
Gonna go up and grovel in front of the prince.
My lord, I found a pokey thing for you.
Oh, marvelous. Yes, well. And the prince, sort of like reaching on his person, does realize that he is unarmed. And sort of, yes, that will do quite nicely. Perhaps we should have thought of this sooner. I've been walking around practically naked this entire time. I could have been accosted at any moment.
Don't worry, my lord, you've got clothes on. I've seen them.
Yes, quite right, Sponge. He sort of plucks the dagger from your hand and stuffs it into his belt.
That's right, my lord. Just in case I'm not there.
And why would that be?
Oh god,
I might need a shit.
It's well, we shall burn that bridge when we come to it, Sponge.
Okay.
I love how he accepted that and didn't say, "Wait, a bridge? Do we need to burn a bridge?"
Uh.
But hey, uh,
It's a very valid perception. Wait, what?
shall we go downstairs and join the party? Because, well, unless we find some secret passage on our own, it doesn't seem like we will find this treasure anytime soon.
I agree. Seems like we have looked at most of it up here.
Do we have a reason for being here? A story?
The manor, the lord of the manor literally already spoke to us, but
Yes. It's just we did also meet someone who cut off one of my hands for not being invited.
Yeah, but we've got to save the prince. He's very sickly. He needs lots of treasure.
Yes, that is quite right.
Could we ask the skeleton? Sven, you
And
speak.
at that, you notice that the skeleton, this entire time that you have been sort of inspecting the room, has been slowly and very quietly trying to crawl away down the stairs.
Oh shit!
It's about at the precipice of the first step, and at the mention of skeleton, it sort of like turns over its shoulder and starts like scuttling down, kind of crawling on all fours very clumsily.
well, shall we go down as well?
Do I need to catch him first?
I think so, yes.
Allow me this. If us like walking there, like fast walking, would like be able to catch up with him. If that's allowed, if that's possible, I think as we walk down the stairs as well, Svint will just step on the skeleton.
Yeah, it's not a very like long distance, and the skeleton is sort of like clunkily clambering down the stairs, clearly in like hysteria at this point. And as you start to like walk towards it, at the halfway point down the stairs, it just like again sort of goes fetal in the corner, waiting for you all to pass as you kind of like press a heel to it.
I feel like as Svind is walking just with purpose, like Sponge is behind Svind like a golden retriever waiting for the ball, just being like...
Did we took the key, right? So
You did.
Having stepped on the skeleton, Svint will lower down and just get very close to the skeleton and then ever so slightly put the key back on the belt wherever it came from. And raise herself back up. She wouldn't do anything to the skeleton, I think, because it's like for her it seems to be one of the servants from the Lord of the Manor here. I think she'll only say, "Go back to your post and don't say a single thing about this, alright?" Good.
Yeah, you see the very like faintest perceptible nod.
While they're going down the stairs, I do want to take a moment just to, I guess sidle is the right word, but I want to sidle over to Groton, because he doesn't need to also threaten the skeleton, so and just say, Groton, you're a doctor, yes?
Aye, the best there is.
And as you know, and this is kind of like while they're walking down threatening the skeleton, etc. I say, as you know, I appear to have come back from after death.
Mm-hmm.
Which means I don't particularly feel completely living.
Nice.
Yes. Right. So, And I do very much appreciate your multiple attempts to strap my arms back onto
4,
my...
I believe.
Yes, 4 times. None of them actually attached, but, you know, the effort is appreciated. I was wondering, what is your prognosis of my condition?
I don't feel comfortable giving you a prognosis here.
Right.
Mostly you need to stay focused, you see.
Yes.
Can't be distracted by the fact that you are so close to death.
Close to death?
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Right.
If you were, I wouldn't want to tell you.
So the fact that you're not telling me that I might be...
It means absolutely nothing.
Means nothing, even though you wouldn't tell me if I was...
I mean, they look like they're done now. We best be on our way.
Yes, okay. Well, thank you. As always, the most reassuring of conversations. And just like
little
looking...
thing called doctor-patient confidentiality.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell my patient anything.
Mum's the word. If I did have a prognosis, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
Yeah. I think as Groten like shuffles off down the stairs, Bugger will just kind of hang his head and just kind of like sulkily start walking down as well to join the others, as he still doesn't have a chance because he takes a quick look at Sponge, who, isn't currently looking at him or threatening him, but still just worries him. Especially after that unfortunate butler.
With Sponge behind me, as I raise back up from the skeleton and say the little threat, this skeleton, I'm assuming, has teeth, right?
Oh yes, many.
Oh,
buddy.
A normal amount, you might say.
I raise up, not lifting my foot yet. I look sideways to speak to Sponge, who's behind me, and I say, "Sponge, would you take a hold of the skeleton's head and pull out one of his teeth, please?"
Yeah, sure. I'll take the skeleton's head like a bowling ball, just like 2 fingers in the eye sockets.
Oh, God.
And I just pick him up.
Yep.
I lean in close to wherever his ear would be, and I'm like, "Look, you've got to understand that because you've got no belly, you can't eat nothing. So this is going to a better cause." And I just grab one of the teeth and pull it out.
The skeleton clearly sort of as you grab onto the teeth, it's sort of fruitlessly kind of clawing at your gigantic forearm, and as you pluck it, it definitely sort of shrivels and writhes in some kind of pain.
See? That didn't hurt at all. There you go. What do you want me to do with the rest of him?
He can go back to his post upstairs, and I lift my foot.
I feel like he casually sort of throws him on his way, and just as he's going up the thing, he has a little pat on where his bum would be, on his pelvis. Just, there you go, on your way.
The skeleton immediately at this point runs up the stairs, frantically kind of stumbling about, looks over its shoulder at you lot, and then immediately does not go back to its post, but instead sprints to the front of the manor, and you hear the shattering of one of the windows, and those of you at the bottom of the stairs can watch and see as the skeleton splats onto the front lawn, and begins immediately trying to ascend the gate barbed in thorns.
So as in it's trying to run away.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And it does its very best to try and climb, but the vines and barbs all along the fence sort of like ensnare and wrap around the skeleton at its feeble climbing attempts. And it's sort of stuck there, panicking, writhing in the outside, just sort of silently screaming.
Oh, look, Svindy was a gardener as well.
Yes, at least we'll learn something this way. We shouldn't try to climb the fence. She
Oh,
plucks
yeah.
the tooth out of Sponge's hand
Yeah.
and holds it out to Gritten and says,
Oh, thank you. More for my collection. You shouldn't have.
This is going on the
was
necklace.
It was this or Bugham's teeth. Let's carry on downstairs.
Okay.
As Svin says that, Sponge goes towards Buggum. Oh, carry on downstairs. Yeah, no, it's for it.
As we keep going down, I'm gonna, you know, I think, as strange as it may sound, this manor was doing better before we came here.
What do you mean?
You know, just every place we've been in the manor, every room we've been into, we've generally either made it messier or killed someone in it.
Yeah,
Or-
but the prince is all better now.
which is the main concern, of course.
Is Buggum, you have to look on the bright side of things.
Oh,
Oh.
You're too focused on the negative. It's quite a downer, really. Bad for morale, as it were. Try to be uplifting. Say something nice about me.
yes, my lord. I like your new dagger.
Oh, thank you very much.
It really brings out your
Isn't that better?
eyes.
Yes, quite. Sort of pull out the black sparkly dagger and try to peer at his own eyes in its reflection, and chuckle at how neither of those things work terribly well.
Yeah.
At a joke that he finds quite funny, but does not say aloud. And he'll sort of sheath the dagger once again, places hands proudly on his hips, one of them sort of sinking into his side a little bit. And he'll, right then, see, that's much better. Keep doing that. Instead of focusing on, oh, we've ruined this, oh, we've tarnished that, oh, we've despoiled and despottled this room or that room, try to look on the bright side of things. We're gathering items, equipment, valuable things, and we are boosting our own party morale. And we are celebrating my recuperated well-being.
Well said, my lord.
Yes. There'll be no more talk of ruining things from here on out.
Of course, my lord. I don't know what came over me. Clearly, the room with the rug really got to me.
Do you want to go back there?
No, not really. I think we've found everything in there that we need to. There's just the rug now.
Oh, I thought you wanted to go back there because you said it was. Oh, okay, never mind.
Perhaps we can drop him off later.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
But for now, ever onwards.
Svint was still standing like to the front of the group as they were going downstairs. She turns around to start walking again, but does say, and bug him. Don't question the will of the void again, will you?
Okay.
she starts walking downstairs again.
All right. Icy as ever, sharp and to the point. The party moves on down the hall into the main entrance hall once again. And upon stumbling in this direction, you can see a pair sort of coming through the opposite doors as you enter the main entrance hall. Sort of two slumped figures, one hunched over the shoulder of the other, both of them in very sort of fine masquerade regalia. And one very visibly sort of like retching some sort of like dark murky liquid evacuating from their orifice, just sort of onto the floor, and the other, there, you're gonna be all right. And upon sort of like the two parties sort of entering into this chamber, the one who spoke sort of looks up and, don't mind him, he'll be fine, he'll be ready in time.
All right, ready for what?
Ready for what? You having a laugh? Right. Well, as I said, he'll be perfectly all right. He's just, you know, a bit of a lightweight is all. And the other figure sort of vomits all over themselves again. Like, just a bit of fresh air. Nothing to it. He'll be fine. And very sort of quickly and hurriedly, the one sort of figure leads the other out the front door and into onto the front step.
Groton, what are you talking about?
Well, my best guess is he's very intoxicated.
What's intoxicated?
It's no, you know, when you drink the funny juice too much.
Don't think I've had funny juice.
Good. That's a good thing.
Is it anything like ale?
Yes, ale would classify in funny juice territory.
Oh, right. Oh, in which case, I've had some funny ale. Gave me the squits.
You ever had too much?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, no, 100%. So he wasn't ready to throw up. That's what they were talking about. But he was throwing up. I'm very confused.
I'm not sure either.
Okay. I'm just gonna... Okay. And I go very solemn for a moment as I'm trying to work out how one can be vomiting whilst also not being ready to vomit yet. I just don't understand.
You see, Sponge, sometimes when people partake of libations too frequently, too often, too much, they party too hard, you could say, they end up regretting it later.
What's a libration?
It's like a drink.
Oh.
Funny
I've had
juice.
one of them before.
So, if you don't want to regret it later,
Huh?
just, don't celebrate too hard.
But the prince is well. Of course I'm going to celebrate too hard.
Well, then,
Do they have libations in their room?
Immediately start walking over to the room to celebrate the prince getting well.
God. The unintended consequences of my actions.
You go through the double doors that the party sort of came through, and you see a hallway much like the one you were just exiting, say mirrored, this time heading to the east, and then turning at a sharp left at its end. Sponge, you sort of trudging ahead, pass by. On the wall to your left are many sort of like gilded framed paintings, and on the right, of course, the large glass windows leading out to the visage of the courtyard.
Yeah, no drinks here, just paintings.
As you make your way to the end of the hall, to your left, you can see the stairwell leading up to the east corner of the upper stairs. And before the stairwell, you see a very large set of double doors, behind which you can very clearly hear the muffled sounds of music and singing and laughter.
I feel like Sponge walks straight up to the doors, being like, "Oh my god, there's drinks!" and then immediately remembers that it is not his job to open any doors. So immediately walks back to Buggum and then is sort of like encouraging, being like, "Come on, Buggum, come on, we've got libations to drink. Come on, come on, there's the one.
Yes,
Come
yes,
on, you can do
no,
it."
yes, okay. Door.
Pushing him along. Come on.
We do the dance, which is Buggum walks up to the door. He tries his best to make his strapped arm with a hand and an eye on it grasp the handle or whatever it is so that I could open the door, and step back so that I can open the door and let everyone else in.
Can I ask
yeah.
something?
Go ahead.
Is it only in my mind, or did something about the statue at the stairs change? I vaguely remember like something being mentioned that it like was higher than it was before, but I don't know if that's just totally me misremembering.
I think I heard that.
So to clarify, the second time it was mentioned, the statue is incredibly high. It is a very tall, gargantuan statue. When you were up on the second story banister, you could reach. You were like, your eyes were about level with the statue's eyes. So it's just pointing out that it is so tall that it sort of like goes up above the banister.
Okay. All right. Because I'm like, as we would pass by, I think there's a thought in Sven's head of there is almost always people who think it's smart and funny to have a secret passage behind the statue. And so she would maybe like cast a glance at as they would pass by that on their way to the ballroom. But we'll leave it at that for now, and they'll make their way to the ballroom.
So as everyone sort of presses on down the hall, Sven takes a moment to sort of eye the sort of large regal figure statue with strange eyes. Sven, go ahead and give me a presence test.
Ooh.
That's a 13. I don't know if I want to keep it a 13. Do we want to make this the roll this session where we spend 3 omens on it?
I can spend
we
an
can start
omen.
with one.
I will also remind you that omens are used for more than just re-rolling. You can also lower a difficulty rating for a test by, I think, 4, which is very significant. And you can also use it to neutralize crits, damage things, such and such, combat uses. But
Wait.
instead of needing to re-roll an entire die, if you have a result that you think is okay, or sort of on the fence, you can just choose to lower the difficulty of a roll by 4.
Can you stack that? Can you do 4, 4, 4?
I don't see why not.
Okay. just check in for future.
I guess 13 isn't too bad. I'll spend an omen to lower the difficulty rating then by 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taking a moment, sort of like everyone is trudged ahead, and you and the prince have both sort of like trailed behind a bit. The prince is also taking a moment to look at the statue and sort of remarks, "A rather fine piece of work. Quite a shame we can't lift the entire thing. What a marvel that would make back at the keep." And as you're sort of eyeing it up and down, you notice that faintly in sort of the empty alternate sockets of the three sets of eyes. In the empty sockets, you spy what appear to be dried flecks of blood.
Almost like someone would put like a bloodied hand in it, or not like that.
A bloody something, to be sure.
All right. Yes, my lord. Well, I'm sure that if you would wish so, Sponge would be willing to try.
An excellent point. Perhaps we shall work out the logistics at a later time.
And perhaps if we wish to take it, we make sure it's not damaged, as I see blood on it.
Oh, well, certainly it wouldn't be the first time goods have arrived at our doorstep via sponge, covered in blood. In fact, it's hardly abnormal at all.
Indeed, that's why Indeed, that's why I said damaged. The blood doesn't matter.
It's quiet.
I will leave it at that for now because everyone has the intention to go into the ballroom.
I've already opened the door.
Party! Get crunk.
All right. So everyone sort of catches up, and as the door is opened, you are accosted by a wave of noise. A cacophony of celebration, of raucous laughter, of jubilant hollering and singing. You can hear like the instruments of a full band and the warm glow of roaring fireplace. Peering in as the double doors sort of like spread open wide and loud, they sort of clamor against the walls as they creak open, and you see this large, long feast hall stretching out. With a great table with many, many dozens of chairs, most of which have been seated by various persons in this elaborate masquerade costumery. The table is strewn with all sorts of dishes, plates, chalices of all manner. Vultures are sort of scampering across the table, pecking at various morsels. On the northern wall is an enormous fireplace casting sort of strange, ominous shadows on the southern wall. To the right is the full band playing in harmony and unison. And in the far northwest corner, you spy sort of a swinging set of plain wooden double doors, kind of cowboy saloon style. At the head of the long table, opposite the entry that you're coming in, is a great chair set upon his lordship, sort of ominously still and observing the festivities before him. The figures at the table are sort of like hurling hatchets at the opposite wall, trying to hit some sort of like target that they've set up. They are drinking, they are clacking steins, they are hurling rancid bits of flesh and meat at one another. It is a scene of frivolity and debauchery. And as the doors swing wide open, many of them turn to gaze upon you lot. And it's at this moment I need to ask, who is wearing a costume?
I'm still in the jester's outfit. And I think the prince is wearing the masquerade mask on his head.
All right. So is that everyone accounted for?
I can't remember if I put on a costume.
I can't remember if you got the chance to get one or if it was, yeah.
No, I think you might not have. I mentioned it, but I think we were guided by the guy riding his food.
Yeah.
I
so
know.
Everyone but Bug and Toe.
I know. I told Sponge and Gruten, like, I like mentioned or pointed them to the masks, so.
All right. So all of you stand there, beguiled in some sort of mask or costumery, except Bug'em Toe. And as the doors sort of swing wide, there's a very brief, not a pause, but a lull, as everyone sort of looks over. And there's a moment of pause. And hey, and steins are lifted and arms are flailed and sort of come on in, make yourself at home, grab a chair. Let's get the party started proper. More guests, make room. And some of them jollily sort of like shove each other off of chairs and like throw now empty seats towards you, and sort of slap down on the table hard and have a seat.
I would think that we let the prince kind of be the spotlight, so he gets to engage first and like approach and sit down if he wants to, and if he would do that, then Sven would like follow along.
Yeah, the prince will sort of like take one sort of like starchy step up and sort of puff his chest out. And Grotte, would you do the honors and do the thing?
Oh, please behold the greatest prince there ever was and ever will be, the ruler of all and soon to be king of the world, the prince.
And the prince will stand there a moment, and everyone at the table will just sort of like, right, yeah, of course. Come on, sit down. A few will sort of like stand up and saunter over and push steins, carrying like several at once, just sort of push sloshing glasses of something into each of your arms and say, of course, prince of the world and all to be, right, and Turbart's the name, and they extend sort of a big hearty handshake.
All of us? Like, are they just...
Yeah, they extend it out sort of like to the group at general.
I do have a question. Because I'm still holding the door at this point, and maybe we'll be closing it momentarily, but I am wondering what the attitude is towards me, and whether there are any other non-costume people in there, because I have a feeling like the only non-costume person in there may be a target people are throwing axes at, for example.
Being that you're largely sort of like tucked behind the door, you don't know how visible you've been up to this point necessarily.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been any like specific, no one's pointed at you just yet.
Okay. In that case, I will reluctantly close the doors as I step into the room very slowly, just in case anyone points and says imposter or anything like that. There is a moment as the door is like just a squidge open still and it's slowly closing where I look out like wistfully at just a place where not all these people are, especially the people I'm with. But then I click the door closed, turn around. And then I'm going to, for now, slide off to the side against the wall in a kind of attendant vibe. A servant, like not engaging with the party until something happens. Where, if someone like runs up to me and says, "Where's your mask? Here's one," and then throws like ale down my throat or something, then I'll be like, okay, cool.
Bug'em tries to take up not too much space and appear inconspicuous.
For now.
And this figure in front of you is dressed in very sort of like outlandish regalia, very like poofy slitted sleeves and very like elaborate codpiece and big frilly hat, feathers adorned and everything. And yeah, they sort of like just extend like a big handshake expectantly, and the prince will sort of like take it and shake and say, Turbard, breaker of the nightless canyon, but Turbard is fine.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers! And they'll raise up their stein and clack it against yours before you could even have a chance to respond very forcefully. And they'll turn around to the rest of the hall and, cheers, lads! Cheers!
Cheers.
And everyone will sort of, hurrah! And down their pints and fill them up again. And more axes are thrown and flung through the air, and the buzzards sort of squawk and screech.
So what brings you here?
That's what brings you. He claps you on the back. I like you. What did you say your name was?
Gretchen, yes.
Good. That's
Yes.
a good one. What brings me here? A happy St. Austin's night to you as well, friend. What brings me here? Come, you must all take a seat. You're making everyone nervous standing around like that.
I'll sit down. Gretchen is
Excellent.
obviously very, very uncomfortable with all these people and loud noises. It's obvious to
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
looking.
I'm gonna sit down as well, and I imagine that I'm just like when the person we're speaking to is like being happy and looking at all of us and lifting his glass to all of us, I like smile back, but it's like Sven's smile is not like genuinely nice, so it's like maybe unnerving. So I imagine that like he smiles at me and I smile back, and he's just like, oh, okay. I'm not drinking anything though.
No one seems to notice. Yeah. Anyone else sitting, standing, other reactions?
I feel like I'm trying. I feel like a classic golden retriever, just like padding, waiting for food. Like I really want to get involved, but I'm like, oh god, just the prince. I need to make sure. Is he all right? Is he okay? And I'm like reaching for the cups, and then just like looking back at the prince, being like, am I allowed to get involved? Can I? There's people that are celebrating. This looks really fun. So I feel like there's a lot of that going on while they're all introducing themselves, and I'm like,
there's sort of another not as large as his lordship's chair, but opposite at the other end of the head of the table, the foot of the table, I guess you would say, there is a fairly large ornate chair with someone sat in it, and the prince will sort of point to that one and say, Sponge, I believe that one is mine. Would you clear it, please?
most certainly, my lord, most certainly. I'm gonna walk straight over to the chair and say, you are in my lord's chair.
And sort of a portly figure will look up from several empty glasses. And I'm in my chair, mate.
No, you are in my lord's chair.
Is that so? And he'll sort of push the chair back and stand up, sort of like meeting eye to eye with Sponge.
Yes.
Their stature, like, very prominent as well. And they,
Puff out a little bit.
yeah. And they'll sort of puff and turn. Well, then you know what that means. And there's only one thing to be done about it.
Okay.
You'll have to arm wrestle me for it, mate. Go on, then. And he sits on a bench at the foot of the table.
Itching towards my flail, ready to bite him in the face, and it's like, oh no, right, okay, yeah, no, arm wrestle, yeah, sure.
And puts out a beefy paw. And at this point, go ahead and just give me a raw strength test.
Amazing.
I was also thinking rock,
Oh,
paper,
I forgot,
scissors there.
yeah.
So I was like, yes.
20.
20, dude.
I don't mind telling you, they rolled a 1. And so you sort of like clasped arms, and you feel in this moment the bony embrace of these fingers. There's no flesh on them hardly at all. This is like a rotted, decrepit little hand. And as you like sort of initiate, the two of you like count down. As you smash, the entire arm just like rips right out of the socket and goes like sliding onto the floor, sort of like clattering around, and in your palm is just like dust. And the other figure sort of like reels back a bit and hells. I suppose it is the prince's chair after all. Well done, lad. Well done.
Absolutely shit myself. Oh, I'm really sorry. And like scoop up what I can and try and stick it back in the socket. I'm really sorry. I really like the prince and I need to do what he says.
I understand, mate. I understand. We all love his lordship as well, and we do what he says. It's only natural.
Oh, well.
Don't fret. Oi. Happy St. Os's night to you, friend.
Yes. Happy St. Oswald's night to you too.
Yeah, he'll sort of like give you a little toast and saunter off further down the table. And the chair is relinquished. His prince sort of like sits himself very gingerly and nods in approval.
Can I ask? It's been said twice now. Is that Saint Oswald's night or something?
I'll type it out in the chat for you all.
Ah, thank you. Because I am in the same boat where I'm like, I can probably get away saying Sisyphus, but
Saint Ossa.
Yeah, it is Saint Ossa's night.
Saint Ossa's night.
Well, I'm glad that I got it wrong on purpose then. Sir, happy St. Oswald's night to you too.
Close enough, good enough. It'll do.
Huh.
okay.
I'm assuming this isn't anything we're familiar with, right?
Possibly. Everyone but, well, Sponge, I'd allow you a roll, but your difficulty rating is going to be higher because you're an illiterate fool. But I would allow a presence test from everyone.
Okay.
You want my
I'll roll.
omen
Why not?
sponge?
I have
I'll
an
give you
18.
A 0! I'm stupid. Damn it.
Why are you rolling a 0, Grunton?
Jesus Christ.
So we have
Sorry.
an 18, a 0, a 12 from me, and a 16 from Sponge.
Okay. So Svind and Sponge, actually.
Oh.
Sponge, you've heard of this night. You're not exactly sure what it is, but you have heard of this night. It's sort of an annual occasion. It's mostly spoken of in warning. It's a night that, like, when you were back in your sort of like soldiering days, it was a night where it basically just meant be on high alert. There was likely to be trouble.
Oh, right.
Svind, you are familiar with this night quite well. You know that this is a night where the dead sort of have like free reign to, if they choose, sort of reanimate and roam about with basically their wits and faculties intact. It's sort of like a night of revelry just for the dead. Yeah, it's sort of an annual celebration of sorts. Not for the living. The living find it terrifying. But if you're dead, it's kind of like your annual vacation pass. It's the guaranteed no necromancy involved. You can just kind of like wander around a little bit. Granted, if you have the remains to do so.
Huh.
And as legend tells, the magic of Saint Ossa will last all throughout the night. But as the sun rises, so too must the dead sort of depart and make their way back into whatever hole they crawled out from.
All right. But just for my clarity, the Lord of the Manor is a lich, so it's not that way for him, right? He is there permanently. He didn't, like, a lich can walk around. He didn't just only be able to come back for this night, right?
Yeah. So, to the best of your understanding, a lich is something neither dead or alive. They're sort of like in a weird in-between space. So it's a very safe presumption that his lordship, whatever he is probably not affected by whatever the magic of St. Aus's Night is in particular.
Yeah. All right. Sven's not gonna share this with, like, the prince or anything, but she'll do the very, like, I'm assuming people are getting their drinks somewhere, so, like, the typical, hey, there's a punch bowl, let's go get some punch. She looks to the other side of the prince and says, Grayson, why don't we go get a refreshment for the prince?
Yes, please. Yes. Let's get out of this crowded table. Yes.
And she gets out of the table and walks to the punch bowl to get some punch with gluten.
Sure. Yeah, sort of like closer to the center of the table is a sort of large, massive basin that you can see is being sort of refilled occasionally. There's sort of a large, portly, someone who looks to be a chef, kind of coming and going through the swinging double doors at the end of the room. And they appear to be attempting to sort of like refill this great basin from time to time as it quickly empties with everyone sloshing their steins in to refill.
She'll take one of the cups that's standing there when someone isn't watching, and also fill it into the bowl as she speaks up. As I thought, all of the attendants here are dead. They've come back for this one night. It's night of festivity for the dead.
Well, we're not dead, though.
No, we got in here.
Well, others could also have gone in, no? I don't mean to, be devil's advocate here, but I am. What is this night all about? I have not heard this name prior.
The dead, Gruden.
Well, we came at a bad time then, didn't we?
But perhaps the lord of this manor is a kind of creature that is between the dead and the living. There might still be something to find here. I saw something odd about the statue in the hallway.
What about it?
There was a trace of blood in the empty eye sockets. There is possibly something more about it. Also, we have to keep in mind that I heard, at least I think I heard, this mention of a hunt.
Well, if we are to go investigate, we have to make sure everyone's senses are dampened, no? I think I have an idea. I want to
Spike
take out
the punch bowl, spike the...
I'm gonna take out some of this vapor. I want to pour it into the punch bowl.
Incredible. Yeah, so having investigated the punch bowl a little closer, you spy that it's just like messy, like clumpy rainwater. Not ale, not beer. It's very clearly just a basin full of puddle water. But everyone here seems to love it. You inconspicuously pop the cork and pour in this sort of like strange sparkling purple liquid that emanates and suddenly becomes translucent with the rainwater. Wowee! Incredible.
Can't wait to see how this plays out. Perfect.
At least it wasn't the poison.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that will probably take a moment to take effect. In the interim, what are those of you who still sat next to the prince doing? Buggum, Sponge.
I'm still stood at the a ways away at the wall, trying to seem inconspicuous and look like I'm an attendant as opposed to a
Oh, you're
bodyguard.
doing full off to the side attendant.
Yeah, I'm like, I would like to have a look around and see if there is anyone else who isn't party goer and more like servant or anything along those lines.
The closest you spy to this effect is the sort of portly chef figure who constantly sort of running in and out of the kitchen, grabbing plates, putting new dishes out. All of them just seeming like rancid, weird bits of rotten flesh and carcass.
Yeah.
But on magnificent silver platters and dishware and things like that.
I'd like to start moving over towards that area, towards the kitchen. I'm curious as to whether anyone's going to notice me or not, considering the revelry currently going on. But let's say, for now, my goal is to essentially either talk to the chef, but he seems pretty busy, maybe slip into the kitchen and see what's going. I'm extremely concerned about being the only person without a costume, and possibly being the... I don't know why. Buggum feels like if he stands out at all ever, or just exists, people are going to beat him and chop things off him. It's weird, but...
I wonder why.
At this point, he's like, maybe I should get out of a place where people could see me, and I stick out currently, so...
Maybe it's you, or maybe it's just the place and the people.
Could be anything.
Not paranoia if they're actually after you.
The results of that can wait for now. Other people have more important things to do. So.
Certainly you start skirting around the northern edge of the room. For a brief moment, there is sort of the warm respite of this enormous fireplace, which is the closest thing to a comfort Buggum has probably felt in this manner thus far. You make your way quietly and carefully across the outskirts of the room towards the kitchen door. Sponge, anything you would like to do?
I feel like after the prince is seated and Svind and Gruten have disappeared off, like I'm just jovially, I pick up one of the steins full of whatever and I'm drinking it and I'm like, Is it the horrible rainwater?
Yeah, as you sip it, like bits of leaves and twigs sort of enter your mouth. You can taste the earthy grit. This is very clearly, just rainwater.
This libration drink is shit.
You see the prince sort of quaffing down without argument, without complaint, just sort of like, and you see like bits of liquid sort of dribbling out of small holes in his throat, and you see part of his jacket becoming moist with a spreading sort of like liquidy patch.
Huh. Maybe it's a noble thing.
Yeah, you do know that there are many fineries of etiquette to the dining experience that are very different from how you would dine, which is to say, alone in a corner of the room you're allotted, to how nobles dine, which is very organized, complicated.
I'm thinking, I'm overhearing other people talking about St. Ossa's night, and I'm just like, St. Oswald, dude, they got... hold on a minute, what happens if they mean St. Ossa? Oh. That's a bad night. Why is everyone... Okay. And I'm sort of like slowly make my way back over to the prince, and I'm just like, oh yeah, no, it's all... How did he... has the night changed? I don't understand. Why is everyone... Maybe it is St. Oswald. Who's St. Oswald?
I love the image of Sponge having like a breakdown and like the realization of, am I the only sober person in this party? Like, what's going on, people? You don't realize the danger you're in.
I'm like walking over to the prince. I'm like stood by the prince, and I'm like sort of like on high alert, but also being like trying to find reasons why this makes sense. At the same, I'm just like, maybe I'm not sure. Pick up another stein of this stuff. All right,
it's certainly not an acquired taste.
No, but I'm trying to acquire it nonetheless. Like, I'm just, tasty. Just every so often, anyone comes too close to the prince, I find a reason to get rid of them. Just, yeah, no, it's very fun. Look over there, distraction.
Tried and true method.
Yeah,
marvelous.
Wondering, like, staying by the prince's side, but as soon as I realize that it's St. Ossa's night, I'm like looking for Svindengroten and Buggum, to be fair, just because I'm not going to leave the prince's side, but I want to know where they are.
Yeah, and it, there's not so much commotion that like anyone is getting lost in a crowd per se. It's fairly easy to keep track of everyone. But yeah, it is certainly a strange juxtaposition. This night that you associate with this like high alert, lock the doors, bar the windows kind of thing. And yet here everyone seems to be having just the jolliest night of their lives.
Just casually take out my dirty little handkerchief and dab the dribbling water from the prince's neck. Oh, sorry, my lord, you dripped a bit. It's fine. Put it back in my pocket.
Oh, so I have. Nothing for it, really.
Oh, no, definitely not, sir. Must be a noble thing.
I should think so. Svindengroten, anything on your end? Buggum sort of passes quietly behind you two.
Oh, is Buggum passing by?
Yes.
Perfect. I'll see Buggum. I'll be like, oh, Buggum, where are you heading off to?
I was trying to surreptitiously, without drawing attention to myself, check out the kitchen and maybe have a chat with the chef.
All right, well, you're looking weird just walking around like that. Here, take this. Here, you gotta hold a drink at a party.
Oh. Yes, no, it's a good point. I should fit in.
Now, is that I have to ask for clarity's sake, was that a pre-scooped drink or is that a post punch bowl?
That was 100% a post, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noted. All right. Amazing.
It actually tastes...
I have literally no idea what mess I'm causing right now, but you can't stop me, right?
Oh, it actually is quite nice.
Buggum is 110% the guinea pig right now to find out whether it works or not.
I'm gonna be the first, because
I love this so much.
To that point, Buggum, as you sort of like sip from this, all you really sense is sort of the cool refreshingness of it going down your gullet.
Oh.
You don't really pick up on any particular flavors. That's, again, much like your relation to your body, it feels distant in a way. You're sure it probably does taste some way, but whatever that is, it's far away. All you really, take in is the sensation, the coolness, the wetness, occasional twig. But Not the worst drink you've ever had.
Oh, good vintage. I'm going to say, yep. And like maybe even tear up very slightly if my tear ducts actually worked, and be like, "Thank you, Groton. It's honestly a very kind and thoughtful gesture to think of me."
Well,
Great sip.
Of course, be on your way now, but don't run away, or Sponge will find you.
Oh, no, of course, and I first time I've felt like part of the group, so, and kind of, you know, do that awkward like we haven't been together that long, so not really sure, but anyway, just kind of like start moving, trying to move less surreptitiously and less obviously, and more like a bit of a party goer.
Marvelous. Yeah, and you begin making your way towards the kitchen. As I mentioned, this is just sort of a set of swinging double doors, no hinges, no handles, no hand piloting required.
Perfect.
You can simply sort of step on through.
Sipping my drink as I go. I need to, you know, like, yeah. I'm going to push through and into the kitchen. Oh. Oh, bugger, why?
Stepping through the kitchen, you are sort of accosted by a wave of various aromas. Again, your senses feel sort of like distant and far away, but you can tell that like you have gone from one sort of like pungency to another, and there's sort of a sense of like putrefaction in here. You can see there are barrels, sacks, sort of lining every corner of this room. And the room itself is sort of like encircled by cupboards and shelves and countertops, in the center of which is a large, boiling, bubbling cauldron being stirred gingerly by the chef, a very large, portly figure in a sort of like stained apron with a white puffy hat. With their free hand, they're sort of just like scratching their side, and with their one tined fork prosthetic, they were sort of swirling the pot around, occasionally reaching over to the counter absentmindedly to grab some more snakes, bash their heads against the side of the pot, and throw them in, and stirring it around a bit more.
Okay.
The chef doesn't turn to acknowledge you, but upon hearing the double doors, sort of just says aloud, "I'm working as fast as I can. If you need something, just be patient. I can only do so much. I understand you're hungry, but I've just put hors d'oeuvres out."
No, yes. The Lord of the Manor would like to an update on how the preparations are going.
An update? Oh, and they'll sort of turn to you and almost gawk for a moment. And, oh goodness, that is a fine, proper costume you got there, mate. Oh, the craftsmanship, absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
You have that costume made? Of course you did. Pardon my asking.
No, it's...
Cost a fortune.
Well, it's a big event, so we have to make sacrifices, yes?
Oh, yes, of course. Anything for his lordship, as we all know.
As we all know.
As for the preparations, as you can see, I'm in the process of doing them. I mean, unless you're going to grab a ladle and help, there's nothing to be done for it. I can't make it boil any faster.
Do you... and I hold up my stump, my right stump. You know, obviously I have a have an arm on my left arm. Do you have maybe another prosthetic or something? I can very happy to assist.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's a further clump of rats over there. You grab some of those. You start lopping heads off. You separate the bits. You know how to do that, right? You can clean a rat.
I know. Yeah, I'm familiar with rats.
Oh, well, that would be a great help, and it would certainly speed things up if you was to grab some of them, start processing, and thank you for your help.
Anything to help the preparations proceed smoother. And I kind of go over and just kind of like look. I'm like, I guess I grab a rat and
yeah. You see a pile of rats, sort of tied together in a little bit of a rat king ball.
Yeah.
You spy a cutting board and a variety of various kitchen knives and utensils. I'd also like for you to make a toughness test at this point.
17.
All right.
That's with a -2.
Thinking back, that drink is pretty refreshing.
For now. So as I'm assuming I don't have to make a roll to prepare these like essentially it's going to be awkward. There's going to be me trying to get the hands to grab the knife after putting the ball of rats down, and then I don't have anything to hold them down with, so I imagine they're kind of scampering in every direction, and it's a case almost like whack-a-mole where I'm like trying to like chase them across the board with like a cleaver or something, just like. And also, I don't have much, like, dexterity with the arms, so it's probably going terribly, but I'm trying to help, and as we go, I say, so, I'm not fully aware of the complete preparations needed. The Lord asked me to check in, just to see, but, what exactly is needed, and how far through are we? Just when I report back to the... Oh, come here, you bastard. When I report back to the Lord.
Rat juices sort of squirt and skulch. As
None of them hit me.
The chef will sort of ponder for a moment, scratching their chin as they continue to stir. And well, as I said, we've got hors d'oeuvres out on the table already.
Of course.
We're working on entrees. I mean, again, as I said, the stew is boiling. Can only go so fast. After that, I mean, there's another course, possibly two. Right. We'll see about dessert. I'll do what I can. So you seem rather culinarily inclined.
I've seen people cooking before.
That'll do.
Yeah.
Here, I'd like your opinion on something.
Right.
Come here. And they'll walk over to another corner of the room. And at this point, you can see that there is another set of double doors at the back of the kitchen. And they sort of walk through there. And on top of a barrel, sort of resting on a platter, is a simmering rat carcass. And the chef will sort of like stick their tine into it and peel off a small piece of one of the legs. Say, have a taste of that, and be honest.
I kind of like look down at the hand that's still clutching the cleaver, and I say, All
right. There you go. They pop it in your mouth.
What do I do? Is there anything of note?
It is, I don't know. Go ahead and give me a presence test.
Okay. That's 6.
You're really not sure what to make of it. It's mostly just like textures in your mouth. It feels like meat,
yes.
But that's about all you're able to gather.
I see. Yes, definitely. Definitely the centerpiece of the night.
Do you think it's going to be adequate? I want his lordship to like it and all. He worked so hard to put all this together.
Well, so it really depends what it is accentuating. Yes, so if the gentlemen are going to be running around and very active, you might want to limit the amount they have. What are they planning on doing?
What are they? Well, it's the same as usual.
Yeah.
We'll eat. Of course, we'll have the festivities. They'll party to the heart's content, and then at some point we'll all get up and do the hunt.
Right. And the hunt, is the plan for this one heavy activity? Riding? Are they running after it? Like, what exactly is... Because if they're running, they may not want quite such a heavy, portion at least. Like, the food is marvelous, but the amount may be too much. You may want to limit the portions.
You're saying keep it light. Don't overburden everybody.
Only if they're running. If we're talking horses, like you need these details and these type of things,
Mate, did you spy any cavalry out there?
Well, yes, I did actually. There was a man on a boar.
Right. Well, aside from aircon,
Right, but I don't know how many boars are here or other things. So as I said, details are important here.
right. You're giving me a lot to think about.
Right. Well, that's what I'm here for, apparently.
You're a good sort.
Bug 'em.
Bugger.
Hmm.
Right. Well, it's been a pleasure, but I must be to it, and I'm sure you'll want to get back.
Well, I'm very happy to finish off the rats, at least, if you'd like.
Fair enough.
All right.
That's how you choose to spend your night. I'm not going to complain.
I want to make sure that the Lord is happy myself, and it looks like you could use I look down at my arms. Hand.
Yeah. I'll give you a hearty prod in the side with their tine.
Ow!
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it is good to have a bit of company here in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I've got to say, it is. It's pleasant. It beats the alternative. Certainly better than hanging out with them roaches. And they'll point their time to sort of a marching army of insects making their way to the back room.
Oh, yes. Roaches. I thought you were referring to the guests. I was going to say it's a little bit rude to the lords.
About the same amount of manners, eh?
Wow, some of them, but yeah, some of them are worse. Well, these rats aren't going to behead themselves, right? Let's get back to it. The people need their food.
Let's bug 'em. Let's.
Oh, I didn't ask you your name.
They call me Nyorin.
Nyorin. Lovely name.
It's fine enough.
Oh, same as Bug'em.
Right.
Yeah.
Back to it.
Gotta get back to it. And
Grab
I will.
another heap of snakes and wallop them against the side of the pot.
I will engage in a little bit of kind of small talk as we're working, but the attempt to kind of glean more information from him is essentially like he I know Bug'em felt like he got a little bit on guard there at the end, and he doesn't want to push his luck, so he's like, okay, I got something there, like so be like, yes, have you been a cook long? That kind of stuff.
As long as I can remember. Though he's a bit hazy now. Each year it gets a little more foggy.
Oh, of course. And
But what stands clear is the passion. I remember I loved to cook. still do. I think I always will.
And you clearly are gaining experience as you go. This is very well thought out meal.
That's quite kind of you. Oh, goodness me, I almost forgot. I need you to take these out post-haste before they get cold.
Oh,
And they go over to a corner and grab sort of a big silver platter just filled with like weird entrails, and they shove it into your arms. Take it out, put it anywhere there's space.
Of course. Could you please take the cleaver from my grasp? I don't want to go out there looking like I'm going to stab someone.
Wouldn't be hardly amiss. But they pry the cleaver from your hand and slap it into a chopping board.
All right. Just on the table?
Anywhere there's room.
Okay. And I kind of turn to start going, I would like to request, it's completely down to you, but I feel like this is a decent moment. I feel like another toughness test might be in order, just to see, whether things are kicking in yet or not.
Way ahead of you.
Okay. In that case, unless I need to roll, I'm perfectly happy for at this point for things to kick in by themselves.
All right.
So yes, Bug'em with tray of food. Is it one of those ones with the like big metal thing covering it, or is it just kind of like
a rectangular tray with the two handles, one of which you kind of just have to put your arm up underneath?
Yeah, just kind of and kind of walking out, push through the big doors and lay the tray down on the table a bit awkwardly, and then try and walk away, realize that the hand is still grasping the tray, and then just kind of like wiggle it until it gets the hint and let's go.
You're sort of like struggling to grasp with the handle when you realize that the clatter and the cacophony of like various noises around you has taken sort of a different turn. As now the room is in sort of like a strange pandemonium. Many of the guests are sort of like trying to climb up the walls. Many of them are on the table. Several of them are like trying to throw others into the fireplace. Others are trying to rescue them. There is a sea of pandemonium, unlike when you left. Those of you in the room during this time have suddenly or sort of like been privy to the process of all the guests sort of slowly slipping into a strange hallucinogenic delirium as gluten spiking begins to take effect, and the guests begin screaming and hollering about spiders coming out of the corners of the room, or shadows trying to eat them. All manner of like strange visions accost the various guests. And in this pandemonium, where are we at and what are we doing?
I mean, I definitely would stand next to the punch bowl and just be watching this, really intrigued. So I would still probably be there and probably encouraging people to drink as they walk by as well.
And they are plenty inclined to do, certainly. Do you take any measure to keep the prince from drinking out of the spike punch bowl? Okay.
I had a cup that was not spiked for him.
Perfect. Some of them have begun to take out large hand axes, and you see that everyone at the table is armed with this sort of like hatchet. And some of them begin like cleaving at each other, running around. Many of them like scamper like out of the room. Some of them curl up the wall. It seems that everyone is having very different reactions to this, but whatever is in the punch is potent and taking great effect amongst the guests.
Okay, my next question is, did you make any effort to make sure that I don't drink it? Because my character was trying to acquire the taste.
You already had a glass, though.
I did have a glass, but I was like drinking it, and I'm just aware of the fact that that could have happened.
It's yeah.
I'm trying to think. It depends. In my mind, I figured you were like just taking drinks from the table. If you would like, if you've gone back and asked for some, we would make sure you're not getting that.
Okay.
But if you're drinking from the table, there's
the prince's side because I'm on guard, so I would have just been taking drinks from the table. Trying a couple of different ones just to see if they have anything different in it, and then realizing that it's horrible rainwater. It's horrible. This. I evidently a thing for nobles. So it's not designed for people like me.
Marvelous. Yeah, this chaos starts getting like exponentially more and more unruly. Guests are like grabbing at each other. Sort of like violent bubble seems to be swelling and swelling as panic begins ensuing amongst all of the different guests. And each of them sort of like clamoring more and more. It has gone from jovial and jolly to very aggressive suddenly. Sort of a every man for himself kind of mentality of paranoia fills the room. And now axes are in hand everywhere throughout. Everyone is ready to get at each other's throats. Some of the guests even start to look towards Sponge and the friends, to Groten and Svind, to Bugum Toe with the platter. One of them reaches out and grabs what remains of Bugum's arm and readies to hash it with crazed, dull eyes. And all of them sort of primed for violence when suddenly his lordship snaps. And in that moment, everyone stops. And his lordship, very quietly, but in a voice that resounds throughout the room, says, "I will not have this behavior on this night. You will comport yourselves as is fitting for guests of my household. You will be seated, and we shall resume the festivities as normal." Resume. He snaps again, and all of the guests sheathe their axes and sit back at their places and calmly place their hands upon the table in sort of a strange mechanical unison. All of them still for a moment, everyone sort of like players on a stage taking their places before the drawing of a curtain. And then just as it was, everything kicks up again. And the party is back. And it's there that we'll leave things for this session. Pick up next time.
Oh my god.
Thank you very much for watching. You can find links to the cast in the description below the video. Please do consider checking them out when you have a moment. And a massive thanks to our patrons, currently on screen now, who are instrumental in keeping these shows coming and continue to astound me with your support. If you're wanting to assist with engagement and cannot think of anything to say down below, then please let me know which job you think Mr. Bugum Toe is best suited for so far. Doorman, Sacrifice, or sous chef. For now though, last call has arrived and closing time is here. You're welcome back anytime you desire. Always feel free to wander in.